I'm glad to introduce you to the idea of ACR plug and play. Each ACR will be in one carton box. We will need one box per each milking place, so this means that if we have a double 24 parlor, we will need 48 boxes. In each box we have a unit that comes completely pre-assembled, pre-wired and pre-programmed. All what we have to do is to connect the unit to power and connect the sensor, and then the milking system is ready to go. This is the unit just out of the box, and here we are, for instance, in a milking parlor that never stops milking. This is one of those heavy-duty systems where the system is stopped just for 5 minutes between one shift and the other. In a similar situation, the dealer just has to install the cylinder on the metal frame. He has to put the sensor in a proper position, and then he has to bring all the cables in a, let's say, in a safe place where he can run his plug and play easy wiring without compromising too much milking operation. The installation is very fast. This is really cutting a lot the cost of installation, is minimizing the disturb in the milking parlor, and also this permits to instruct a local technician at the farm to easily replace a cylinder, a panel, a control valve, a pulsator, a sensor in case of a problem without stopping milking. This is extremely important. The service can be done overnight by a technician at the farm. This doesn't require any particular technical skills. What do we mean when we say that the system comes pre-wired? There are 5 cables, and the first one is connected to power and quick lift. We will see later what quick lift is. A second one is connected to the auto start on the cylinder. Then we have 2 cables connected for control valve and pulsator, and the final cable, of course, is connected to the HFS. All this wiring job here is done in our factory, so the dealer receives this unit with some colored ring to prevent error while installing it. We really try to make the operation as easy as possible and as problems free as possible. The panels are pre-programmed. What does it mean? We have a lot of parameters because some of these panels are ready to work both as detacher and as milk meter. Of course, they will be all pre-programmed in order to work as detacher, and they will be tuned for heavy-duty farms. What we recommend is to install a couple of panels, let them work for 2 days, for 1 week, whatever. And when the farmer is convinced, you fine-tune all the parameters in order to obtain the best possible detacher level, etc. There will be probably 2-3 parameters that will need to be fine-tuned in that farm. Then you can make the same modification on the remnant 44 or 46 panels in the office. You bring them to the milking parlor, and then you can install them very, very quickly. The idea is to have 4 models at the moment. Maybe we will add more. One model will be with the panel mounted on the cylinder. Another model will be with the panel separate, and in this case we will have a longer cable. We will have a 3-meter cable for the auto start. We are thinking if there is also the need, but we wait to collect some data more, for a similar situation where the dealer didn't want to use the plastic vacuum cylinder, but he wanted to continue to use the existing air pressure cylinder here with the chain, etc. So in this case, it was not possible to use the plug and play. We are considering if there is the need to create a 3rd plug and play for a similar situation. At the moment, we will start with 2 model MMV. What do we mean with MMV? Here we have, on this panel, we have a large display that permits to check milking operation and help during programming. We have 3 buttons that help milking operation and programming, and we have the possibility to upgrade this panel in the future with a milk meter in order to transform this system from a simple detacher to a real milk meter system ICAR approved. But we want to introduce also 2 more models not with the MMV panel, but with the smart panel. This has a smaller display, only 2 buttons, and cannot be upgraded to a milk meter, but of course it will come at a lower price. So if the price is the driver, this is a good solution in any case. As I mentioned before, now we have the idea to launch 4 models, and we will investigate if it is the case to put 2 more models for this particular situation. The main difference between the model on the cylinder and the model separate is, first of all, the cable, which is only 0.35 meter in the model that goes on the cylinder, the autostart cable, I mean, and in the other case is 3 meter long. But also in the separate, the bracket for the panel will be optional, because we have some dealers who, not only some, we have few dealers who manufacture their own pre-shaped support for the panel, so they probably don't want to buy this, the one that we provide. So it will be an optional, you can buy or not buy. Also, the HFS sensor will not be included in the box, because we want to give the possibility to the dealer to select the Evo or the standard model. And also the bracket for the sensor will not be included, because some dealers are manufacturing their own bracket, so we don't want to stop their fantasy, let's say. The difference between the standard and the Evo is simple. When the vacuum pump is switched off, the standard starts open while the Evo starts completely closed. So this is a big advantage to help vacuum build up when we switch on the pump. But on the other side, the Evo has more parts, it's a little bit more tricky to be serviced, and it's more expensive. So what is important is to have the 2 options. Both the options will have the deflector. What is the deflector? The deflector is an element that we introduced here recently. You see it's co-molded here in the body of the sensor. The deflector stops the fast spinning air when, especially in heavy duty condition, they open 4 liners together. This is creating noise, and again, when we are in high genetic cows, the deflector is helping to reduce the vacuum drop. So these are the 2 big advantages. It can reduce noise, and it strongly reduce the vacuum drop at high flows, at high milk flows. It can reduce the vacuum drop in most of the cases by half. So big advantage, the deflector. Both the models, the standard and the Evo, will have a pre-connected cable. This is co-molded. It's 1.2 meter, and it has a plug-and-play connector at the end. And in both the cases, we will also add an additional 1.5 meter cable. This is useful if we have to run the HFS sensor all around the metal frame. So in this case, the dealer must make a clean connection, of course, and he can leave this part here fixed and still keep the 2 parts plug and play. No? So the fact that he has connected a long cable doesn't mean that then the sensor cannot be replaced. The sensor can be easily replaced because it will have the plug 1.2 meter far from the milking point, so in a safe place, but accessible for an easy replacement. If the sensor and the panel are close enough, we don't need to connect all this wiring, to do all this wiring, but we can plug directly the pre-wired cable directly in the sensor. So this also would speed up installation operation very much. But if we have to run no more than 3.1.2, no more than 4 meter distant. Power. To power the system, we are going to use our IUP power unit. They have input, 230 volt, 56 Hz, 110 volt, 50-60 Hz. So let's say with one only unit, we can cover all the needs that we can find out there. And then we have 4 output. On this 4 output, we generally recommend to connect maximum 5 units. So 4 by 5 means 20 units per transformer. Why do we recommend 20 units in a normal situation? Because we don't know if the dealer is going to use a CV30 as a control valve or an LE30. There are very good reasons to use a CV30 in some cases, But when we use a CV30, when the cluster is not milking, when the system is let's say when the cluster has been taken off from the cow, the two coils are both energized together. And when the system is milking, the two coils are powered off. So energized in takeoff, not energized during milking, both together. But in plug and play, we will always use the LE30 as a control valve. The LE30 has the advantage that it always has one coil energized and the other not energized in milking and in takeoff, you see. So we never have this situation here where two coils are energized together. The consumption are lower and we can connect up to 24 units to one IUP. So this permits us to use one of the wiring harness that we designed for pulsation exchange. We have two wiring harness. One is one has 8 plugs and one has 6 plugs. In this case, we will use the one with 6 plugs. So the code is 1030549. And instead of connecting pulsator, we will connect ACR smarts to these 6 plugs. Since we said that we have 4 outputs, of course, we have 6 by 4 equal to 24 units connected to one only transformer. Big advantage. Quick lift. These plugs here are not 2-pin plugs, but they have 3 pins inside, and also the cable, of course, have 3 wires inside. Why? What do we need to do with the third pin? Of course, from the transformer, we only give plus minus, so in theory, we need only 2. The third cable is used to be connected to the quick lift button. The quick lift button is very useful, especially in large systems. It permits to click the button and lower down all the clusters together without opening vacuum. This is extremely useful when you want to put the clothes on the wash plate without opening vacuum and having a big vacuum drop in the system. Then if you click the button again at the end of washing, all these panels will switch from wash mode to milking mode. And when you click a third time the button, all the panels will come up together. This is, again, very useful because it prevents the milker to go from one panel to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, to switch them from washing to milking and to lift up all the clusters. We can see here, for instance, when I tested the first time in this farm, the milker didn't expect. He was preparing the cow and all the clusters fell down. Yeah, so it's easy like that. They are really using it a lot. In most of the cases, they use their own button. They have their own solution, the dealers. What is important is that they follow the wiring scheme. This is a complex wiring scheme for the non-plug and play case. In this case, you see they have to run 2 different wires, one for the quick lift, one for power, and they have to do all the wiring manually. But in the plug and play, we make their life easier. Everything is pre-wired. They just need to clip, 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 and at the end, they shall make this connection. We don't go in the technical details. Easy, this is what you need to know. Auto start is another important feature, both with ACR Smart and ACR Smart MMV. The milker doesn't need to press the start button on the panels, but he only needs to lift the cluster a few millimeters in order to start milking operation. We can see it here. This is really speeding up the operation, especially in large systems like this where the go is, they have to go as fast as possible. So they don't need to press the button here. They just take the cluster in the hand and they start to attach them. Both the Smart and the Smart MMV stop pulsation when the cluster has been removed. They can control rate point per point. We can adjust ratio front, ratio rear point per point. This means that we can really tune pulsation according to the presence of a vented liner, according to the level of vacuum. We can really obtain the best possible pulsation performances. It's also possible to enable different type of stimulation, both on the smart MMV and on the smart panel. We can have automatic stimulation, we can have a fixed press stimulation, we can have a on-demand stimulation, and also rate and ratio are adjustable. Another important feature is what we call advanced takeoff. Normally, the other detacher in the market, they trigger the threshold for taking off the cluster based on sensitivity, so how many grams per minute, and based on delay, how long do we wait for another significant flow. We have a third parameter, let's say, that we don't need to explain here in this commercial presentation, but we can do it in another, of course. This permits to trigger the takeoff level and be extremely precise, both in case of a sheep, a goat, a low genetic cow, or a super high genetic cow with big milk flow. Yeah, so we can really be extremely precise on the takeoff. The MMV, the smart MMV model, not the simple smart model, is upgradable. We already said that at the beginning, but it's important to repeat it. We can start with a simple HFS system, and in the future we can upgrade this system in order to become a complete milk meter ICAR approved. There are some accessories that can go with this ACR plug and play. We can provide a remote start button, but of course we can also, the dealer can use his own button that he has already tested and he is confident with. The silicone spray, this is very important. It's important to give always a couple of bottles when we sell a system so that they can lubricate the pistons, the cylinder very easily. This is a quick operation, but it's important to do it from time to time. This is the only maintenance operation actually that we need. And the quick vent valve. The quick vent valve is not included in the box. It can be easily mounted, and there are clear instructions. We don't need to lose time to explain the purpose. The quick vent valve has the advantage to permit to the cluster to really fall down in the hand of the farmer when he's milking. So especially if there is a long distance, like in this case, if the cluster is lifted at a high distance from the cow, and it can be a good idea to add the quick vent valve, but it doesn't mean that we have to use it in any cases, so we prefer to keep it as an optional. It must be ordered apart. Very good. This was a short presentation. The purpose of this presentation is to help you answering the question that Simone has sent to you. We need to know what are the volumes that you expect to sell, and what is the target price that you need in order to be successful in your market. Thank you very much. We look forward for your reply, and if you need more information, please contact us.